And earlier I caught up with CEO Tom Albanese. Tom Albanese, welcome back to Late Line Business.
Great to be here today.
Now, you talked about the euro crisis today and the US, and that customer sentiment was more cautious. Is this because they've got more difficulty raising funds with tighter credit around the world?
I think in general, people are expecting slower growth in 2012, and that's helping to sort of create the caution. I think in some markets, particularly in China, for the smaller customers, SMEs, they're having difficulty raising money, but that's unrelated from Europe. I think in the US, actually, there's a slightly higher level of what I'd call cautious optimism, that things aren't as bad as they would have been thought of a couple months ago. But if you're in Europe, I think there is quite a concern about the state of the financial conditions, the state of the banking sector, and that is having an effect on European sentiment.
They're quite bullish for the company, especially in iron ore. You say the China growth story still has a long way to run. Now, I've spoken to a few experts on China in the last few months, and there's growing concern about the housing market over there, which could have ramifications for the construction market and indeed for Rio Tinto.
Yeah, we are watching that very closely. We have a strong team of economists and business people in China. We're looking at those markets, not only the markets in Beijing and Shanghai, which have been largely built up, in some cases overbuilt, but also those markets in the inner parts of China where we're continuing to see quite a bit of growth. So I think if you need to look at China from a countrywide perspective, in any event, we would expect that there'll be a slowing off in the rate of growth in 2012 and probably 2013 than we would have seen over the past couple of years. And that would be consistent with our long-term thinking of growth.
Turning to another iron ore venture, this time in Africa, your Simandou project in Guinea. Now, I think almost $2 billion has been spent on this project so far. You've got huge challenges there, a 650-kilometre rail line, a deep water port, all supposedly up by 2015. Is this going to happen?
Well, we are currently doing all the work. We're doing the geotechnical work. We're doing the final engineering on the jetties and everything else. So it is happening as we speak. We've had great cooperation from our joint venture partner, Chalco. And again, we've been working very closely with the government of Guinea to make this happen. It's a very high-grade material. Very little of this type of material is left in the markets today. So it will nicely complement our Pilbara blend in Australia, and it will deliver a better iron ore solution for our customers. And again, these are long-term supply solutions. You described long rail lines, you described port complexes. Well, we could have said the exact same thing about Australia back in the 1960s and the 1970s. Our predecessors basically made those decisions, made those commitments, and we have a very strong iron ore business as a consequence of that. And again, this is part of developing those resources and developing those businesses for the future.
Of course, the difference between Australia and Guinea is sovereign risk. And earlier this year, the government, I think, stripped half the mining concessions off you at Simandou. The government may take a 51% stake in the infrastructure. How do you assess sovereign risk over there?
Well, again, what we're doing in Guinea and many other countries, we're bringing partners in which have the effect of both spreading out that risk, but also the partners themselves, in this case, a Chinese SOE, Chalco, they can actually bring in a stronger level of political support in those countries. We will operate it, but again, having the support of Chalco and China behind us, and also, by the way, the support of the IFC, which is a sister organization to the World Bank behind us, makes for a powerful package. And again, as you said, the government of Guinea will be funding 51% of the infrastructure themselves, so they have a stake in the game. They want to see this to be successful.
Now, the Australian mining tax is through. Andrew Forrest, of course, reckons that the deal will raise very little among the big miners. Can you assure the Australian taxpayer that the deal cut with the government by the three big miners will actually mean that 80% of the tax revenue will be paid by you guys?
Certainly, I believe we will be paying taxes under the MRRT. Again, the level of that will be based upon what will be the level of pricing for next year. Everyone's got their own crystal ball on that, but we would be expected to be paying taxes.
And the lion's share?
I would expect that be the case.
Aluminium prices are now, as you say, well below your marginal cost of production. And your strategy now is to sell several assets, smelters, refineries, etc. Now, given the climate, are there actually going to be buyers out there?
Well, again, the businesses that we've selected in Pacific Aluminum are all quality businesses themselves. And if you take that complete combination of smelters and then the Gove refinery and then the bauxite, we're looking at something that could be a top 10 aluminum business in the world today. I'm not sure the market conditions are right today to find the right commercial solution. But again, we're not in a hurry. We're going to find, we'll set the business up on a standalone basis. We're working very, very closely with the stakeholders, whether it's the communities or the states that are involved. And I think we will find, I'm quite confident we will find a commercial solution that makes sense for Rio Tinto and Rio Tinto shareholders.
Your CFO, Guy Elliott, today talked about opportunities in a downturn. Of course, no greater opportunity on the table at the moment than the takeover battle you've got for Hatha Resources in Canada. Do you think the great giant Cameco, who you're battling with, will come back again and raise the price?
This is something that we're interested in from an exploration perspective, but as it's under bid right now, you would expect that couldn't come any further.
Very good. It just seems to be a very big game over there at the moment. Tom Albanese, thanks very much for talking to the programme.
Thank you very much again.